What's going on, y'all? You know what time it is. It is time for Elevated Vibes Radio right here on IntellectualRadio.com to let you guys know the number to call to join this conversation. And it's going to be a heck of a one. I almost said something else, y'all. But it's going to be a heck of a conversation today. But the number to call, 708-238-8953. Once again, that is 708-223-8953. Or you can always hit us up on Facebook Live, and we will answer you, guaranteed. Anyhow, today we are talking about that Voting Rights Bill Act. However y'all want to say it, it's important. So we're going to break it down. Now, just so y'all know, just in case you forgot, I am your boy Abdul Rashid. This is
Boss Man. First of all, Happy New Year. This is my first time back in the studio in the new year.
Yes, sir.
So Happy New Year. Happy New Year to the, I'm going to call it the Vibe Hive. That's what we're going to call them. We're getting creative in 2022.
I told y'all it was going to be some changes.
You know, elevated vibe. We're going to call y'all the Vibe Hive. Like, you know, y'all have a hive like mine and y'all vibing and, you know, all
and
of
we're
that.
going to grow with that hive like mine.
Hey,
you know,
hey,
it's growth. That's
it's
going
growth.
to be in it.
Hives always outgrow, you know what I'm saying? They get swarm and they come in, they're creative, they operate.
We work together and we build. Community,
so,
baby.
You know, Vibe Hive. So, you know, I can't think of a better topic to start off the new year with. I'm excited but disappointed because it seems to be performance art. I know we'll get into that. There are reasons for that. But I think, you know, we can start over with the historical context of the Voting Rights Act.
Correct.
Talk about what happened and why are we here and why we need a new one. And, you know, but for, you know, some people who call themselves Democrats but act like the other party.
Oh,
yeah, we're here discussing it tonight. So this is a topic I'm very excited. Yeah, to get into. This is a topic I'm excited to get into. I it's not one of our topics where, you know, I'm not. We don't change minds on this one. Either you're for or you're against.
That's true.
You know, so, but I think we have to provide some context for understanding the importance of this, why we need our legislators to, as my dad was used to say, get some act right.
I feel you on that.
And do what needs to be done. So, you know, yeah, let's get into it.
Yes, sir. Now, everybody, I'm going to take y'all back a little bit just to give you a good feel of everything, you know, just to get where a lot of this had, you know, came from, at least the most recent one. We may get into even a deeper historical thing pretty soon, probably towards the end of the show. But in 2016, this country, America, we made a mistake. We hired the wrong guy.
Who we hired?
We hired the wrong guy.
I got you. Agent Orange.
Right. For 4 years, he took terms such as egotistical and self-centered. He took it to a level that would even make all of Europe appreciate Napoleon himself.
Wow.
I'm just keeping it real.
Wow.
I really am, y'all. I really am. Now, because of the ways that he was, this nation, the ills, the wrongs, the no good that has been kind of, you know, hidden, I hate to say, in the shadows of this nation, all of that came to be front and center. Now, let's fast forward to 2020. America, we begin to heal. But to begin to heal something, you have to exercise issues, and we exercise that orange tumor, you know.
Did we? I mean,
at least out of the
he got fired.
Yeah.
But,
at least out of the front office.
Okay.
You know, we at least exercised them to that point. It would be a blessing to exercise them even more. You know, we can drop them off in the middle of Siberia. It would be nice to me, but you know, whatever.
Well, hey,
he may get love over there anyway, though. But
the way the news looking at right now with this New York AG and the ruling from the Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
My man ain't got long for this for freedom.
That's true.
It's looking like he don't have long for freedom.
That's so
now,
very true.
will we be so bold in America as to lock up a former president? I mean, in
He's a
Illinois.
human being.
Well, I know here in Illinois, we locked up 4 of our last governors. So, it seems like you can't be a governor in Illinois without going to jail, so.
Right.
So the fact that, the New York Attorney General is looking at stuff. We still have the Congressional Committee that's looking at stuff, and they seem to be ratcheting up. And I do want to talk about that a little bit today.
Of course.
And, but the pressure he's facing from the New York AG, pretty much him and his whole family have engaged in racketeering, fraud, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, that's where we are.
Okay. All right. Now, within this free fall of his from, the top-notch level to wherever he is now, okay? His excuse for failure was what he termed, let me do the old Nixon quotes, and yeah, y'all, I'm showing my age here, the big lie.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So
that there was fraud in Georgia, Arizona, and one other state.
Right. Was it Pennsylvania?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Now, the big lie ignited a number of things, but 2 of the main ones, and we kind of touched on it, January 6th. All right. And an all-out attack on the voting rights. A complete attack, y'all. With their disdain over what has been called the blue wave, where they are praying that it doesn't become a tsunami. The party of Lincoln, and if y'all really look at it, Lincoln is probably turning over his grave every time somebody says that term, the party of Lincoln.
Okay.
They decided they wanted to change the rules, kind of go back to the old rules of voting, even though it's not exact.
Yeah, it wasn't old rules. It's let's put this all in context.
Okay.
The Voting Rights Act, especially when we're talking about it, of 1965, enacted under Lyndon Baines Johnson, was a culmination of what had historically been happening to people of color in this country and being denied the right to vote, including, poll taxes, these reading taxes, different intimidation at the bench, at the voting places, and things like that. And you got to remember that people were marching. That was the Selma March. That's what it was all about, was voting. To have the ballot is to have the power. And so 1965, although there had been other things, was the codification of the first landmark governmental right, saying that, we're going to ensure that all Americans are assured equal access to the voting polls. And that's what happened. Now, similar to what's going on today, it was not met with a lot of fanfare. Southern Democrats tried to block it. And at that time, they literally had to stand up in Congress. It ain't like you could threaten a filibuster. They had to flip. They had to filibuster.
You had to, with the filibuster, to constantly go.
Right.
You had to whatever.
And so this was a culmination of that. And, it worked. It worked well. Including, there were some issues with certain states, historical states that had, I shouldn't say historical, where states who historically discriminated against people of color had to go and petition the Justice Department to change any of the legislation or any of that. And for years, it worked until, the Supreme Court, and I forget the name of the case, and I know I should know this, but they overturned the case and said that, for states to have to go and petition the Justice Department was not right and it was not fair. And so
you're talking about on a more recent level.
Yeah, this was 2015, 2016. Was it 2013? Was that
13? It was 13.
What's the name of the case? Do you have it as?
Yes, I do. It was give me 2 minutes, brother. I definitely got it.
Well, in
Shelby County versus Holder.
Thank you. Shelby County versus Eric Holder. Thank you. And pretty much the Supreme Court struck down all the working parts of the Civil Rights Act. And so, and I know I'm jumping and things like that.
It's fine.
But that's why we're trying to pass, or we're doing this, I call it theater, of trying to pass the Voting Rights Act now, the John Lewis Brown Voting Rights Act now, because of that. And so some of the things that, I mean, this is a simple, it's not like radical. It was like, let's make the voting day a holiday, which is what is done in other countries.
Absolutely true.
You know, but what we saw after the lie of 2016, the rise of January 6th, was that those states that historically, and this is, I think, your point, that historically discriminated against people of color, returned to their roots.
Yes, they did. Plus a couple of more.
Plus a couple of more.
Yeah.
Plus a couple of more.
Yes,
so,
it was.
you know, and of course, leading the way was Georgia.
Lord have
mercy. Yeah, Georgia. I got Georgia on my mind. Georgia.
And just to let y'all know, we love the people of Georgia, but it's just your laws. Everybody.
And where we get this crackpot legislation saying that you cannot give food and water to people who are in voting lines.
If that's not blatant, I don't know what is.
Well, of course, all of this is done under the guise of securing the vote. Like, they never say, you know, we're doing this to limit the vote, especially to people of color or communities of color. But what they do is some of the things that we have seen, which is drawing, redistricting, gerrymandering.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it has now come out, you know, it's trying to trickle out how much Agent Orange interfered with, you know, the census.
Yeah.
You know, and that affects it. And so what we're seeing is what does it call it?
But, you know,
imagine solution to an imagined problem.
Right. And see, the thing is with that thing with the census, I'm trying to remember exactly what was done, but they spoke on it. But see, this is one of the parts that is fault of the media too. Don't get me wrong. They had a lot to talk about, especially when you're dealing with him. But, you know, they spoke on it when the census first came out about some of the things that he was doing, but they only gave it 30 seconds.
Right.
And they got back to everything else. And the thing was, they should have kept pushing that too, so that the people know. One of the jobs of the media, of us that y'all may see or hear, all right, we supposed to give you everything so that you are in the know. And that's one of the problems that the media did not do, unfortunately. You know, and I know you was about to say something, but I'm going to touch on a couple more things too, that, you know, the common sense John Lewis Act would you know, yeah. It would allow states to have early voting at least 2 weeks prior to election day. Another thing is that it will allow voting by mail with no, I can't vote by mail.
Right.
This is excuse.
Automatic send out the ballots.
You know, and it's a couple more things, but just to touch on how you got the Republicans claiming that this would stop a lot of the voter fraud. If you got time, because you got votes coming in, you got time to count all these votes and so forth. Where's the fraud?
Well, here's the thing. They did find fraud in the election. I mean, that was a minuscule amount.
Yeah.
But guess who the party was that was most
It was the Republicans.
Yeah, all those people who were voting and, you know, these conspiracy theorists. And I was even listening to a podcast, and it's like they have no basis for their stories.
No,
there is literally the figment or a creation of their mind. And they find these minuscule stories to either support or whatever, or they'll change the story so that matches what they wanted to say. You know, it's insane, but, you know, things are going to stay the way they are because now we have legislatures choosing their voters as opposed to the voters choosing their legislatures.
Right.
So I did get a call in on our Facebook, or not call in, but a question that says, would I prefer a holiday, election day being a holiday, or early voting? I don't think it's an either or. I think you can have early voting. And I think you can also make federal elections. I don't even know. I think elections should just be a holiday as well.
Yeah, it should, because you're out here doing your
civic
duty.
Yeah.
And it's for the country.
And we underlook, and I know this is a little bit off topic.
Come on with it.
But when we have more registered voters or more people participate in the voting process, guess what else gets diversified?
What's that?
Our jury pools.
Ah.
Because jury pools are chosen from the voter pools. So some of the issues that we see in terms of discrimination and all of that stuff, or not, I don't want to say equal access to justice. There's a whole nother issue on that.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that one. Go ahead.
I mean, they don't make it easy for lawyers. So I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine just being a layperson trying to navigate the judicial system right now. It's very challenging. I've spoken to several of my colleagues and things like, and I know this is way off topic, but it's not easy for us to access it and try to figure out what's going on.
But the thing is, even jumping on that, you all as lawyers have knowledge of that red tape.
No, we got knowledge of the law. There's the law, and then there's the clerks,
right,
that run the administration of justice.
Right.
I can tell you the law and understand my term. How to file something, man, look, that's an all-day process. Like, literally, you could call another, hey, how you do this?
Even us as lay people, as you put it, we're not even on that road.
Right.
Because, see, you all have studied this for a good amount of time.
We studied the law.
Right, but a good amount of time. So, you know.
I get what you're saying.
Right.
There's the law, and there's getting to the doorhouse to talk about the law. What I'm saying is, even us as lawyers are sitting there like, how you do this? How I schedule this? How I get my motion up?
Yeah.
I mean, I could call 5 attorneys right now.
Okay.
And I'll say, how you file this? And they'll be like, dude, I don't know. Did you call a clerk? Or it's so bad. Some of us are even at, is the system working? I keep putting this in and it's rejected. That's off topic. And I'll bring some lawyers
it's okay,
on.
Though.
No, I'm going to bring some lawyers on to talk about equal justice, because it ain't equal for us.
Right. But you know what, though? It also puts our people in the know.
It's important to know.
Thing.
Yeah, it's
the main
if
thing.
you are struggling trying to get something filed, trust it is not you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know this is off caveat and we're going to talk about, but it all relates. Imagine how hard it is if you're trying to fight for your home, if you're trying to recover your loss, if you're trying to get someone out of a home, when you're trying to do what is right, and we make it harder for you.
Yeah.
We make it hard. We don't make it easier. And that's literally.
So you guys get the goalpost moved on you as well.
Oh, without question. Like, I've had stuff rejected because I didn't use the form from that courthouse as opposed to a form that came from something. Like, I did it where I thought it was supposed to be the incorrect form, rejected. What? What? You know what I'm saying? Like, this happens. You know, and so, yeah. So all of it is combined, justice and opportunity at the voting poll. Okay. And so, like I'm saying, if I, as an officer of the law, am having problems administering justice or accessing justice, and that's my job. That's my job. I can't imagine what it's like for the layperson. On the flip side of that, why are we making it so hard to vote? Why are we making it so hard to vote? And there's only one reason. The party of minority is trying to stay in power.
Right.
And so we don't change our viewpoint and our stance to match the will of the people. We change the game so that we, as the minority, and that's why this was me and your debate last time when I was telling you, Rich, they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking to them. We can say that January 6th was a riot and all of that stuff. They don't care. Like, that's why I'm saying we got to stop talking to them. And we just, there's a part of this population, and I don't know how much it is. You can say 30%. I think it's higher, 40. They want to hold on to power for the simple fact of holding on to power. Why does the farmer in Wyoming get to dictate how I live my life in Illinois?
Yeah, that is a problem.
Now,
I agree 100%.
If the farmer or the people of Wyoming don't want abortion,
Right.
or don't want, whatever, then but you should not limit or curtail other people's freedoms for the sake of what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are all put on this planet to fulfill our potential as a human being. But when you start, putting out these laws and stuff, and people want to say that that's a curtail of freedom. No, I disagree. When I'm telling you that, you got to have early voting. Federal government says you got to have early voting. When the federal government says you got to have a federal holiday. When the federal government says that it's okay. And I'm getting back to it when we talk about access to the voting polls in Georgia. Now, what they did in Georgia, and we saw it, those long lines in the Georgia heat.
Yes.
Georgia, and now, so, if you're in a population center, let's just say 100,000, I'm not sure. But now we're going to take it and cut, the number of voting polls by more than half. So we trying to make it harder for you to vote. You got to persevere, and that's what they thought they were doing in Georgia the first time when, my girl ran.
Stacey
Abrams, and they thought they made it hard, but then they found out, oh, these people are determined. So we going to increase the incline of the hill, instead of lowering it or changing our votes or change, like, my guy who's a moderate Republican, the one from Illinois, what's his name? The one he just had, Adam Kingsley. Kingsler. Do I agree with him? No, but is he a common sense, everyday moderate Republican? Yeah, I can. That's what we're asking for, is a return to common sense and normalcy.
Right.
Not
but
this.
See, the thing is, all right, like you spoke about the farmer in Wyoming, because the farmer in Wyoming,
cattle rancher. I'm sorry, I don't know how much.
One,
I'm not sure how much farming happens in Wyoming. So you see, I'm disagreeing. The farmer in Iowa and the cattle rancher in Wyoming.
Hey. And it's odd that you said those two states, because those are 2 of the 9 states that changed their laws. Mm-hmm. That's already changed. All right. But what I'm about to say is this: that farmer in Wyoming, what they'll do, those that have the power and want to keep the power, they will make sure that his word is out there. His thoughts is out there because it aligns with them.
Well, let's look at the unfairness built into the system. I'm not sure. I don't know. Let's say the population of Wyoming is 998.
Okay.
That sounds about right? Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is Wyoming. I'm sorry, everybody in Wyoming, but we're keeping it real.
I think it's the least populous state. But anyway, don't hold me to that, but I think it's the least populous. Those 2 senators represent more of their people than the senators from California. If you understand what I'm saying? Like, the vote is more concentrated than what the 2 senators are in the Senate. And where are we having all the issues at right now? In the Senate. And I get it, like it sounded great, but the Senate operates on this archaic, and they've changed the rules for the filibuster and all of this stuff. So all you got to do is threaten the filibuster, and you don't even have to show up. You know what I'm saying? And that's an issue. But anyway, the unfairness in the system means that those 2 senators' votes are equal to the 2 senators who represent California, which we know is the most populous state in the union. So there seems to be an inequity in that. And we get it. Like, if you look historically, the whole purpose of the House and the Senate was so that the small states or the least populous states also had equal representation.
Of course.
But what happens when that scale shifts so that you now have tyranny of the minority? It's no better than tyranny of the majority.
True.
And that's what we have now. We literally have tyranny of the minority holding a gun to the majority, because I think my guy from what's his name? Man, I got 2 chins. I think he is wrong. He says we are a center to right, and I disagree. I think we are a center to left kind of country, and I think we're more left than center. Right. We all support policies of Social Security. We all support policies of equal access to, terminate a pregnancy. Majority of people support, a common living wage. Majority of people, if you go down the list, a majority of people support these things. So majority of people support taxing the rich. Elon Musk was complaining because he had to pay $11 billion in taxes. And you're like, dude, but your net worth grew.
Yes.
And you like the richest man on the planet at 300 something billion. So
yes.
what's 11 billion to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you kidding me?
The rich want to stay rich. The rich want to still have the power that they have. And unfortunately, what they love to do is to keep the majority quiet, the majority paying attention to something else, and on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to never show all of their guns.
Correct.
Just like you mentioned Joe Manchin. All right. Now I think it's his daughter.
Yep.
Yeah. She's
I know where you going.
She works for
Crookedness stays in the family.
Yes. What's the name of the pharmaceutical company that overcharged
for the diabetic penis?
Yes.
Yeah. Charging something ridiculous until it was some
but this same man
insulin.
is voting against his people. Because isn't West Virginia one of the poorest states in the union?
Like 3 from the bottom.
Bingo.
Look, when people are protesting and you talking to them from the back of your boat, that should be your clue. Like, I think Dolph protests too much. Well, that's easy to say from the back of your boat. You on the back of a boat. I don't get it why some of these poor states vote for. I don't understand how Kentucky continues to vote for turtleneck.
God.
I don't understand. Like, he's maybe he's bringing home pork barrel projects. I don't know, but I don't understand how you one of the poorest states in the nation. And let's be honest, the poorest states in the nations are all red states.
Yes.
The richest states in the nations are all blue states.
Yes.
So literally, you are having everybody wants to talk about welfare. But nobody wants to talk about the transfer of welfare. It's welfare when the rich give taxes and we support because we say that everybody, we are the United States and everybody should have a decent wage for living and all that. But what about the welfare of the blue state supporting the South state? If you're against welfare, don't take the money.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. Generate your own taxes, do whatever you want to do. But because we are the United States of America, we all pay money to the federal government. That money gets redistributed so that those who are less fortunate are able to maintain some kind of living. You know what I'm saying? But that's all fine and good. Here we are going on, I think, over a year now where people have been or student loans have been held in abeyance. And everybody was swearing up and down, like, if people stop paying their student loans, the government is going to collapse. Well, guess what, folks? Government's still here. It didn't happen. They always cry chicken little. And then even when it don't happen, they still want to tell you it's raining.
What people don't understand, and I know we done dipped way off subject where we're going to go back, but I'm just want to jump on those student loans for a second. All right. Many people think that, the student loans are held off, the schools are not getting paid, the bank's not getting paid, whatever. Wrong.
They already got their money.
They got their money.
Got their money.
Just watch a football game from a college. Okay.
But it does.
Money that school is getting from that football game.
Look, that's
one game.
That's big schools. I went to small schools, but guaranteed you, I went through all my semesters. I got a refund check, but they got their money off the top. Like, FICA. How FICA come in and take your money? They take their money first.
Yeah.
Trust me. Colleges came in and took their money off the top first.
Yes.
So they already done got paid, and you got to remember, some of these schools have billion-dollar endowments.
Yes.
Not all schools and all of that stuff. And we'll talk about loan forgiveness. I got a colleague, Mr. Driscoll. Me and him have had a big debate about, student loan and student loan forgiveness. And, if he's watching, I definitely want to have him on the show to talk about that and some other legal topics. But, Yeah, but all of this, to wrap it up, comes down to voting.
Plain and simple.
All of these issues are controlled by who we elect to send to the legislature. And we're always talking about federal, but remember, all politics is local. Like, there's
all the work gets done local.
On the local level, the city level and the state level. There's very few things. I don't want to say very few, but we're always aware of federal, but most things affect you on the state level. So voting is tied up in all of that. Who we vote for will decide, oh yeah, a lot of my people do have student loans. Yeah, let's do loan forgiveness. A lot of my people are, working class people. Yeah, they do support a higher minimum wage. They do need a higher support minimum wage. And you got to remember, when people ain't making a living wage, they're on some type of welfare. They're receiving some type of assistance, food assistance
from somewhere,
some type of rental assistance, something. So why should Amazon be making billion-dollar profits, but I, as a taxpayer, subsidizing their workers?
Exactly.
You can afford to pay your workers a little bit more, and and everybody.
If Bezos can go to space, he can afford to pay his workers.
Send numerous people. Like, I don't know how many trips that have been taken, but if all of these people can afford, the space race and all of that stuff, right. Or like Warren Buffett said, I shouldn't have to pay more. My secretary shouldn't have to pay more in taxes than what I pay in taxes as a percentage of my wealth.
Yes.
So it's all about how you earn your money. If you earn your money from corporate stocks and dividends, of only which I think 15% of Americans participate in the stock market, then you only get taxed at a certain rate. But if I work, I get taxed at a higher rate. Yeah. That to me is mind-boggling.
Yeah, and even touch up on that. All right, if you're going to tax me all these rates and so forth, do something for me. A lot of times
controlled by who you send to the legislature,
right? But and that's what I'm talking about, and that's why it ties into the voting and all that. You're gonna have to do something for me. You have other countries, yes, they tax their people, but they do stuff for their people.
No, every other nation has better social. I want to say every other nation.
We'll just say a number of.
Yeah, but a lot of the European nations, a lot of the Scandinavian nations,
right,
do have better social service programs than what we have here in the United States.
Right.
We somehow think that supporting people when they are down is somehow them getting over. Like, you heard Joe Manchin voting against stuff because he was like, oh, I don't want to pay child tax credits because people gonna lie and go hunting. Like, dude, when was the last time you were broke? Like,
but all of that ties to all those who are paying them under the table, the coal companies.
Yep.
Like I said, his
pharmaceutical companies.
It's another one too. So
yeah,
all that ties into that. And just to let everybody know, because I know we've been hitting on different things, all of it has to do with voting. All right. And like I said, there are 9 states, and I'm gonna name off these states: Iowa, Texas, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Montana, Kansas, and Wyoming.
I think all of those states' populations together maybe equal the population of California.
Maybe. But the thing is,
Florida's pretty populous. It's one of the more populous.
It ties in. It goes back to tying in. They want to keep in power. All right. If you want to keep in power, keep real to your promise as an election official and be for the people. Because if you go be for the people go keep you in power.
Well, I think in some of those red states, and I don't want to get into racial politics and stuff like that, but I just don't understand how you continue to vote against your economic interests. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Kentucky, West Virginia. I'm pretty comfortable in saying that they don't rank high in racial diversity. Yet they continue to send legislators or slate politicians that seem to continuously vote against their economic interests. Like, if I'm in West Virginia and somebody's trying to say, oh, we're going to pay for childcare, government pay for childcare, I don't understand as a legislator if I'm from West Virginia and I know my people are suffering and hurt and they can't get back to work and my government is promising me childcare, how you vote against that? But your mentality is, if I give it to them, they're going to abuse the system and they're going to go hunting.
But
That is insane.
And here's the thing, too. And once again, guys, y'all can join the conversation 708-223-8953, or you can hit us up on Facebook Live. Here's the thing, though. All right. The people honestly do have the power, but I guess after a person's elected or whatever, half of us fall asleep and don't even pay attention to what that person is doing.
And your governor of Aurora, your mayor of Aurora is running for governor.
Yeah,
but that's a side note.
Please don't put him as governor. Anyhow, that's a whole nother story. We may get into that, but no, I can't see him running the state of Illinois. I'm sorry.
No, we might have to have him on the show.
Absolutely sorry. You know what? Richard Urban, or anybody who is listening that knows Mayor Urban, you are welcome to the show.
Wow.
Hit us up. Hit us up. And we can have a conversation. Show us why you should be governor of Illinois. I'm going down on a limb here. Come on with it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Anyhow, besides, and I've heard how some people are about to put Manchin in Arizona Cinema to task, and they're going to try to primary them. There's got to be another way to, knock them off their high horse.
It used to be, and they got rid of it. People were controlled through pork barrel projects. That was maybe when we were, late college years, the 2020, and they did that whole reform. But the way that the speakers and the whips control people were pork barrels.
Okay.
You want a particular project, get in line. Now prior to that, they were using blackmail, like we got this.
It's got to be a legal way too, because you got to look at it.
There has to be. I just can't believe. Now, people say, Joe Manchin has always been a moderate. All right, well, that's fine. But why should the senator from West Virginia dictate what is in the best interest of the nation?
True.
You know what I'm saying? If this is your party's platform, and this is what. And I don't know where self-interest or self-preservation, and maybe this is where we are, because you got to remember when the Democrats voted for universal health care or the Obama Act, a lot of them cast their votes knowing that it was going to cost them back at home. But they recognized the importance of this act and were willing to sacrifice themselves. Now we have these legislators who are acting like they are kings and queens and don't want to give up their fiefdom.
Right.
Now Joe Manchin, I don't know when he's, 2024 is 2 years away. He just got reelected. Why are you being a hindrance to your party?
Cannot a senator be recalled? You can recall governors. You cannot recall a senator.
Some senators cannot be, depends on the legislature of that particular state. But no, he's not subject to recall. And for him to be primaried is not really a threat to him, because he's been primaried his whole career. So he don't, now what they need to do is say, okay, fine, but the DNC won't be supporting you.
Plain and simple.
Now, if you can't get money from national, now Cinema is in trouble. Like everybody, like people haven't picked on Manchin, because he may be playing how he's always been playing it. Cinema, they're saying, is a bait and switch. Like she was a liberal progressive. She was out there
until she got in the door.
She got in the door, and she was against coal mines. She was against all of this, they thought she was a progressive. That's why her election in Arizona was huge.
Right.
Now she getting money from Republican donors.
Oh no.
That's a bait and switch.
Right.
That's like, oh, I thought you were this, but now you that. That's a bait and switch. So yeah, she needs to go, because who I elected is not who I thought. And I don't want senators necessarily subject to recall. It's different for governors. But sometimes you got to cast a hard vote.
Right.
And sometimes you got to do, remember, we're not a we're a representative democracy, right? So not necessarily everything I think is going to get enacted. We're not like the old Rome where every citizen casts a vote. We elect representatives to enact the majority of the will of the people, or what they think is the majority of the will of their people. In this conversation, we know Cinema is way out of line.
Now, my question is this, because a lot of things that America does it wants to take from ancient Greece, ancient Rome. Well, that's what it
That's what our
says.
system is based on.
It
Yeah.
says, it does. But then yet you don't want to give the people that much power. You just want to give it to that representative who can easily, and it's been shown years and years how a representative can be swayed.
I mean, look, we're about to have a big election here in Illinois because Bobby. I was about to say Bobby Brown. Every little step I take, you will be.
Oh my goodness!
But
Go ahead.
Bobby Rush,
right,
is getting ready to step down from the first district of congressional district of Illinois. I believe that's the first congressional district, and so it's about to be on and popping. We're going to see all of the big names in Illinois running, because once these people get elected, and this is why I support term limits, they're in there for life. And I think when you're in a position for life, you can get swayed, because now you're trying to do everything to hold on to your job.
But that's exactly why that recall should be for everybody, senators on down the line.
But
because
you can be recalled for malfeasance or criminality or whatever, or if like two of the senators, Marjorie Taylor Greene, can't do anything. I think like they're just they have no committee assignments. They just get to vote once the big bills come to the floor. There's another congressional representative that's also barred from any committees.
Yeah. Because they're a waste of space. I'm sorry, but that's what they are.
Well, they've committed acts like we know with Marjorie Taylor Greene, preaching Vibez. Yeah. Some people call them oxygen thieves, whatever. We know, they did things to incite violence or, against a representative, or that the one who talked about the assassination of AOC Alexandria, yes. I think he got stripped of his committee assignments. Right. So in those cases, I hear what you're saying, but sometimes I want to be able to cast a hard vote. And I know it may cost me an election, but if I honestly and truly believe that it's in the best interest of our nation, then I'll do it. But I should be allowed to serve out the rest of my term. If I'm always subject to recall, like look what just happened in California with Governor Newsom. The whole reason he was subject to recall was through some manipulation of of the law and all of that stuff. And it was because of his COVID rules that he put in place. A lot of people were unhappy with it. A lot of the restaurants, but in those cases, like what COVID was a once in a lifetime plague, or, I don't know if it qualifies as a plague. I'm saying if you don't had COVID and you survived the plague. Right. You ain't no difference than the guy from the Spanish flu or the Black Plague. You survive. Like, it's like, yeah. You survive. You're a survivor. Some of us have been infected twice and survived. So
yeah, man.
But when you have to make those hard calls, I don't want your decision-making power affected by the fact that you think you might be recalled. Sometimes you just got to make the hard decision.
Right.
And that's what the people have elected you to do. Now, if they don't like it, they can catch you the next election cycle. But to always have to weigh on this decision on whether or not it's subject to me recall or whether or not people going to like me.
But see, my thing, and I get that. And you're right to a certain point that I agree with you completely. But the thing is, some people need to be checked. All right. Just like sometimes, it could be your kid or you could be watching somebody else's kid or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that you see them doing something they ain't supposed to be doing.
Right.
All right. Now, but somebody else's kid, you got to check them in a different way. But if it's your kid, they already know.
I agree.
You got to put that there to put them in check. And sometimes that rain-free thing, which a lot of them has been doing for God knows how long, it's got to stop.
Look, I hear what you're saying, but again, it's different. When you're in a position of, sometimes leadership does not reflect the attitudes of the body that is leading. You know what I'm saying? To be a leader sometimes means you gotta, and I'll point out some historical you remember from World War II, Roosevelt was trying to get Americans to help the Europeans. He was like, we're gonna help England out because if your house is burning and I'm being selfish with my garden hose, chances are my house is gonna catch on fire. And a lot of Americans were against intervention in World War II. Well, guess what? We sat on the sidelines. We didn't, we were sending stuff over to Europe. But then guess what? Pearl Harbor happened. Now we want to get in the fight. Well, the fight been going on 3 years before you. Now we want to do that. And that's the American way. I shouldn't say it's part of the American way. We don't care about nothing unless it affects you.
True.
Like our former vice president, Cheney, against gay marriage, and all of that stuff. Guess what? My daughter got, oh, you know what? I found the way. I've seen the light.
I get it.
I get it. So Nancy Reagan against STEM research and all of that stuff. Guess what? Ronald got dementia. Oh, well, if there's some, you have to be able to see past your own moral code to how it may affect someone else and their moral and their needs. And so that's the issue I have when we start trying to limit stuff and take away stuff and all of that stuff, So, we're against abortion until it's your mistress that has the child.
Yeah.
How many Republican congressmen are guilty of that?
Right.
We want to throw away people and lock them up until you're facing time in federal prison.
Now you want to change it up because
now
you're looking at that.
Yeah,
I get it 100%.
And the biggest example of this, we gonna criminalize drug usage and all of that stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Our pharmaceutical companies have been pumping out a stronger form of heroin and getting people addicted and show records that this product is addictive and we gonna but not one of them go to jail. They're gonna pay a fine. But we now drugality or the use of drugs is no longer a criminal matter. It's a mental health issue.
Right.
What happened between crack and
we can go to the simplest thing. Hey, we don't like you all selling, smoking weed, all that. But wait a minute.
Our state is broke.
Right. And
our state is broke.
Colorado made $12 billion?
Man, they cannot tell you what the profits are in Illinois right now because every month is going up. Every month we exceed the previous record. Right. That is mind-boggling. Yes. That is crazy to me. Like, yo, everybody want to lock you up for marijuana. Marijuana, this is bad, gateway drug, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Oh, shoot. We got to fund the teacher's pension. We broke. We got a F-class rating. Insurance companies won't lend us money. We can't get no loans from the banks. However, are we going to pay this money back? Oh, I don't know. What do everybody else do when they broke and down and sell drugs? And we're going to legalize it because we're the state.
Right.
And not only are we going to legalize it, we're going to take record taxes from those, who merely apply to sell drugs within the state. Yes. So, under the guys on the license, so these are the things that we do. But all of this gets back to the voting right because these are who we represent. This is who we're doing. So right now, and I'm not sure it happened. I didn't get a chance to watch CNN, MSNBC, but last thing I heard was that Cory Booker was talking about not just having an up and down vote on the Voting Rights Act, but he wanted to break out the parts of it so that Sinema and Manchin can go on record and voting against making the federal day, making the election day, making a holiday.
Yes.
He wants them to vote on, automatic ballots being sent out. He wants them to vote, so that these matters become. Now, I want to let everybody know, even when the 1965 Civil Rights Voting Act was passed, it faced the same obstacles. We forego history thinking it was easier. No, the same stuff that precipitated the passage of the 1960 Rights Voting Act is the same stuff that's going on now.
And then I'm going to touch on a couple of things with that. First, a couple of more common sense things this Voting Rights Act would do, the new one right now. All right, number one, it will make voting more accessible to those who are disabled. So you're not given the chance to a citizen because of the disability that they may have. That's a lot of nerve. That's a whole lot. Another one is that it's a more strenuous, watch on what dark money is used on campaigns. All right. A lot of times, and if y'all don't know, a lot of times, a lot of these politicians are funded by those who are not of the best of, your intended nature, and they really don't care. Let's keep it very honest. So they're funding whatever politician so that that politician can pass a law or do whatever they need them to do when it's that time. Would you not want to, a strenuous watch on what money's coming into that person's campaign? Who wouldn't want that? But all of a sudden, they're having an issue with it, you know? And let me do this real quick, y'all, on the fact that many people may have forgotten some things about the 1965 Voting Rights Act. All right. We even need to go on touch on that act because see the act what it did was it expanded and enforced the 15th amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And those who don't know their amendments, and it may have been a long time, hint hint, I am one of them. The amendment reads, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude.
Yeah, it was a right that assured black people had equal access to the polls, because the states, what they did in the South, what they would do is like if your father was a slave, you couldn't vote or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. They would have a poll tax. They would make you count how many jelly beans or guess how many jelly beans in the jar. Just things that would stop you from enacting your right to vote. That's
Yes.
that was the game.
Yes.
They were constantly hiding the ball. And so this act, and I was just looking at it, is actually would favor Republicans in certain ways because it will allow the at-home voting. We know that during this pandemic, I know I call it a plague. I don't know how you how what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? One is
really
pandemic, one's a plague. Like
everybody's still sick. A lot of people are
dying.
dying.
Yeah, right.
Let's keep it real.
So, and I just want to go because I know we're coming to the top of the hour. Let me just run through these real quick. Make Election Day a national holiday. Allow states to have early voting. Allow voting by mail with no excuse needed, and voters could put their ballots in drop boxes. That was a big deal in Houston where they took all the drop boxes except for one.
Yeah,
for the city of Houston.
They also did that in was it? I don't know if it was New York. It was somewhere else.
It was yeah. So require that states make voting more accessible for people with disabilities, which you just touched on. Require that states require IDs to accept a broader range of IDs, because we know that historically, people of color or those with little means may not necessarily have a driver's or state ID, but usually they have something else.
Right.
Outlaw partisan gerrymandering, which is huge. That's huge. And that's why the Republicans don't want that, because they control more state legislatures than
by redrawing the districts.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, matter of fact, I think the Ohio Supreme Court just came down with the ruling saying that the map that the Republicans came out with was so gerrymandered that there was no opportunity for equality under the Ohio law. It would impose new rules on how campaigns are paid for by limiting use of called dark money, which you just touched on. A small donor matching system would be set up for House candidates. Strengthen the Federal Election Commission. That's the party who investigates fraud and all of that stuff. So that's what the Democrats want, up and down vote on each of those things. So we'll see. But yeah, look, I say this, and this is what's ticking me off. This is political theater. Okay, and I get it. And the only reason I think they're doing it is because they, regardless, when they come back up, they have nothing to bring home to their voters. I mean, yeah, you passed the build the better bridges, whatever that is. The bill,
but they only passed part of the law.
Right. And so things that matter to your people, student loan forgiveness, Voting Rights Act, civil rights reform. That's like, so you're really putting your president in a situation, because as I told you last time, I'm not really feeling motivated at this point. You can't control these two senators, and I get it. You're not king, but there's got to be some type of. Everybody got pressure points. Everybody got pressure points,
and that's why I'm saying that not only the president, but the people have to apply this pressure.
Exactly.
The people have to stop being, oh, well, I ain't paying attention to that till the time come up. No, pay attention to them. If you got to do it once a month, pay attention to what these people are doing.
Yeah. So, this is political theater. They want to be like, hey, we tried, and when they come back, and you got to remember, Biden is in because of the black people in South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? And, historically, I think they said something like 96% of black women voted for Joe Biden. And they don't talk about it, but like 90-some% of black men voted for Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when it's time for him to run again, or not even if he chooses to run again 2024, or for these downstate people, like, these congressmen who hold elections in off years, it's going to be hard for them to go back and say, hey, we did this for you, or we did this for you, we did that for you. Like, you haven't given your people nothing, and y'all been sitting in Congress for 2 years, and you let these two senators cost you your job? Yeah. So there has to be some type of leverage, some type of pressure that you can bring on these two to bring, to bear. And I don't know what that is. I don't know congressional politics. I don't know what that looks like. But I just think it's wrong that the senators from probably two of the least diverse states are the ones who are causing this. Like, this could be a historic moment. Like, me and you could be in this historical time, just as it was for the Voting Rights of 1965, the Voting Right Act of 2021, or the John Lewis bill, are historical in nature. And, we're just letting this opportunity blow by, and we're just casually waving to it.
Well, one thing I would say to that people can't do, and I'm always going to stick on it, the money. It's money in all this.
And that's the pressure point.
Start messing with their money. Yes. You start messing with somebody's cash, it's going to be some changes.
Yeah, Amy's List already done came out and told her, you keep going this way, we will not be supporting you.
Right.
Now, when you from the poorest state in the nation, or one of the poorest states in the nation, I don't know how much pressure you can bring to bear, because the coal mine people are going to support him.
Of course.
This whole thing about clean fossil fuel, which is a lie. They're going to continue to support him.
Yeah.
But there has to be other avenues that we can affect his stream of income, that we can make him change his mind. Now, I don't know, like I said, I don't know West Virginia politics. I don't know congressional politics, but we got to do that, because right now I wish they almost hadn't brought it to the floor, because it's just political theater. Like, okay, y'all tried. What next? So that's my point.
Well, and another thing with that, okay, they could come with this I tried thing. And, even to those Democrats that don't want to do nothing. If you don't want to do nothing, we got to put them to task too.
Yeah.
All right. It's just like at a job. All right. You get to work, you can go to the job every day, be on time and all that. But if you don't do nothing at your job, you're not expected to keep that job.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Right.
So some of that, we got to make moves to make that change. And then one last thing I definitely want, you to think about, or anybody else that's listening to think about, and so forth. IDB Wells once said, with no sacredness of the ballot, there can be no sacredness of human life itself.
Yeah, that's true.
So if y'all playing around, what do you expect? You can't complain or whatever if you playing around with, or allowing them to play around with this stuff.
Right.
Quick thought before.
I know we're wrapping up, and, I know it's been a heavy topic today. So, as I told you in 2021, I don't believe in resolutions, but I just want everybody to just kind of go into this new year, as I said at the end of that show. 2020 and 2021 were not good years. Overall, I don't think. But 2022, I just want everybody to hold the promise to themselves to be kinder and gentler to themselves and more forgiving. In 2022, that's what I want people to do. And hold yourself accountable. But when you fall short of the mark, which we always do, be kind and gentle to yourself. And that's it.
My quick thing, y'all, is this. All right. We, the people, we have the power. We need to make changes with this power that we have. We need to start, no longer being asleep on it and be on it. And not just for ourselves at this time, but also for the future. Because especially if you're, let's say, 30, 25 and up, you have to start looking at those that are behind you and building for them, because that's one of the main focuses of adulthood, this world, and so forth. We got to leave something better for that crew that's behind us. Because if we didn't, or we at least didn't attempt to, then what we doing? Plain and simple. This is Elevated Vibes. We will catch y'all next week. This is on IntellectualRadio.com, our iHeart radio station.
Peace.